Imagine a man capable of punching faster than the human eye could follow, a man whose strike was so powerful it could send a 200-pound opponent flying 15 feet backwards. But also imagine a man who spent his nights reading Spinoza and Plato, writing poetry, and meditating on the nature of existence. Bruce Lee wasn't just a martial artist. He was a scientist of the human body and a master of the mind. Many know how he died, but few understand how he truly lived, and the extreme methods he used to transcend human limitations. Today, we go beyond the movies. We dive into the journals, private letters, and brutal training routines that transformed a street kid from Hong Kong into the warrior philosopher. Stay with us, because what you're about to discover is the essence of a legend. Bruce Lee possessed a secret library containing over 2,000 books. While other fighters simply punched sandbags, Bruce studied anatomy, kinesiology, and psychology. He was obsessed with efficiency. He once said, "Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do." But Bruce's education didn't start in a library. It started on the rooftops of Hong Kong, where street gangs fought for territory. Young Bruce was constantly getting into fights, and his mother worried he would end up in serious trouble. At 13, she enrolled him in Wing Chun Kung Fu under the legendary master Yip Man. Under Yip Man's guidance, Bruce learned discipline, but he also learned to question everything. He noticed that many traditional martial arts were becoming like dancing, beautiful to watch but impractical in real combat. The rigid stances and ceremonial movements looked impressive, but would they work on the street? This question would haunt Bruce for years, and eventually lead him to revolutionize martial arts forever. At 18, Bruce moved to America with just $100 in his pocket. He worked as a dishwasher, a waiter, and taught dance lessons to survive. But every spare moment was spent training and reading. He devoured books on Western philosophy, Eastern mysticism, and sports science. He realized that the body and mind were not separate. They were one unified weapon. Bruce was one of the first to realize that traditional martial arts were becoming like swimming on dry land. They were too rigid, filled with useless rituals. He began to deconstruct his body to rebuild it. He didn't just want to be strong, he wanted to be explosive. His training was decades ahead of its time. He used circuit training, weightlifting, and long-distance running for endurance. But he went further. He began using electrical muscle stimulation, sending high-voltage shocks directly into his muscles. Friends warned him about the dangers, but for Bruce, pain was just another barrier to overcome. He treated his body like a high-performance machine, constantly adjusting every gear to achieve the impossible. He trained his forearms by punching rice in buckets until his knuckles became like iron. He practiced the 1-inch punch 10,000 times until he could generate maximum power from minimal distance. He did finger push-ups to strengthen his grip until he could perform 2-finger push-ups with ease. But Bruce wasn't just building muscles. He was rewiring his nervous system. He understood that speed wasn't just about fast-twitch muscle fibers. It was about the connection between brain and body. He practiced visualization, seeing the fight before it happened. He studied the timing of boxers like Muhammad Ali and the footwork of fencers. He cross-trained in everything from Western boxing to fencing to achieve what no one had before, a truly complete fighting system. His daily routine was brutal. He would wake at dawn and run several miles. Then came stretching for flexibility, followed by forms practice. Afternoons were for strength training and conditioning. Evenings were for sparring and technique refinement. And late at night, when most people were sleeping, Bruce was in his private gym, experimenting with new techniques. If you ask anyone Bruce Lee's most famous quote, the answer will be like water, my friend." But what does this really mean in real life? For Bruce, water was the ultimate symbol of resilience. Water can flow or it can crash. It has no definite form, but it can wear down even the hardest rock. In the late 60s, while Hollywood rejected him, Bruce used this philosophy to survive. He didn't fight against rejection. He adapted the role of Kane in the TV series Kung Fu, a role he had conceptualized, was given to a white actor instead. Hollywood executives told him that American audiences weren't ready for an Asian leading man. The racism was blatant and crushing. But Bruce didn't let bitterness consume him. Instead, He returned to teaching and opening martial arts schools. Steve McQueen, James Coburn, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar became not just students but close friends. Bruce was planting seeds, building a network, waiting for his moment. He realized that the greatest battle isn't against an opponent, but against one's own ego. He developed the concept of the void. In combat, if you're thinking about winning, you've already lost. You need to be empty. Your movements should be a reaction to the environment, without the interference of thought. This is the art of fighting without fighting. He applied this to his life. When he fractured his spine in 1970, an injury that doctors said would end his career, he spent months in bed. But he didn't give up. He used that time to write The Tao of Jeet Kune Do, transforming catastrophe into his greatest intellectual legacy. In that book, Bruce outlined his revolutionary martial arts philosophy. Jeet Kune Do, the way of the intercepting fist, wasn't a style. It was an It was about removing the classical forms, the traditional rituals, and finding what worked for each individual. Absorb what is useful, discard what is useless, and add what is specifically your own, he wrote. This wasn't just about fighting, it was about life itself. By 1971, Bruce got his chance. He returned to Hong Kong and made The Big Boss. The film shattered every box office record in Hong Kong history. Suddenly, the man Hollywood had rejected was an international superstar. Next came Fist of Fury, where Bruce's character fights against oppression. The scene where he kicks down a discriminatory sign became iconic, a symbol of resistance against injustice. Then came Way of the Dragon, which Bruce wrote, directed, and starred in. The final fight scene in the Roman Colosseum remains one of the greatest fight sequences ever filmed. Finally, Enter the Dragon was released in 1970. This was Bruce's Hollywood breakthrough. But greatness has its price. By 1973, the pressure was reaching its limit. He slept only 3 or 4 hours a night. The stress was immense. The headaches he suffered in his final months were warning signs of a body pushed to its limit. On July 20th, 1973, Bruce Lee collapsed and never regained consciousness. He was just 32 years old. So what is Bruce Lee's true legacy? It's not just the movies. It's the idea that you are your own master. Bruce Lee didn't just change martial arts. He changed how the world sees human potential. As we finish this video, remember his final lesson. Mistakes are always forgivable if one has the courage to admit them. Seek your own truth. Be your own hero. And above all, be water, my friend.